Time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time for the top 3 stories of the day, KSLSports.com. Brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials at J. Brooks Jewelers. All right, Christian, where are we starting today?
Number 1, the Jazz taking on the Pistons tonight. Red hot, 9-1 in their last 10 games.
Currently sitting, Ben, at 6th place in the Eastern Conference. They're a game back of Indiana and Milwaukee. So if they continue to be hot, they conceivably could get as high as 4. I doubt they can catch the Knicks at 3. But Detroit is super interesting and playing really well. 9 out of 10. Pretty wild.
I'm prepared to get hurt again.
By the Pistons?
All of these teams that I'm like, oh, this team's on the uptick. This team's playing better. This is one of the contenders. This team's a dark horse. And they come into Utah and they just have these dog-nothing games. And I get that teams don't get up to play the Jazz. And as much as you and I have talked about, like, if the Jazz were really trying, they probably could have easily won over 30 games this year. Because they won over 30 last year. They won over 30 the year before that. One of the things that does happen when you do start trying every night is that teams get up for you. And teams are not getting up for the Utah Jazz, which is why they've caught some teams off guard, and they expect the Jazz to just fade away, and they don't, and then you end up accidentally winning games or having close games like they did last night. So I want to see if Detroit comes in ready to win. Do they want to win this game? Do they actually look impressive? Or is this a team that's going to be fully healthy that the Jazz, we'll see what the Jazz injury report looks like. It has not come out yet. Well, is this a team that the Jazz hang around with through 3 quarters and we're just like, ugh. Yeah, Cade's fun, and Malik Beasley's having a historic year shooting the ball, and they've got some veteran pieces in Tobias, etc., but there's actually no there, and that's what I'm curious to see tonight. Sorry to be a downer. I've just seen that story so many times this year. I've seen it over and over and over.
Well, that's playing down to the Jazz. That I do think there is something to what you're saying. Tobias Harris is listed as out.
Okay.
He's dealing with some personal reasons. And Jaden Ivey is also out dealing with a leg injury. So
he might be done for the year.
2 players that certainly make them better. But Cade, I think people didn't necessarily write him off, I don't think, but kind of forgot about him as a number 1 pick because I think Detroit was so bad. And he's a little bit of an experiment because his shooting needed to come along some and is not perfect yet, but has gotten much better. But man, Ben, he's a well-rounded dude. I mean, he's a big physical guard.
He's a legit star. He's absolutely an all-NBA player, first-time All-Star this year, capable of putting up a triple-double almost every night, but isn't just, a Ben Simmons triple-double because he's also shooting 36% from 3. And active on both sides of the floor. Ben Simmons was too, but is a much better offensive player.
Well, he's taking 6 threes a game,
Right.
And if he's making 36%, which is enough, that's just fine. If he can add on to that, then we're talking about first team All NBA. But he's a great player, and I like Detroit as a story. I do.
They've certainly been one of the more welcome stories in the NBA this year.
They're like their counterpart, the Lions.
Yeah, exactly right.
Just been terrible.
Yeah.
For a long time.
They need a second guy still. They still need a second star. And we'll see where and how they get that. They've got some young players to trade. I think they still have some draft picks. But, no, they're fun. They're a good story this year and worth celebrating. Cade's going to win Most Improved Player. He's probably going to be an All-NBA player like we mentioned. So, good for Detroit. We'll see how they play tonight with the Jazz on the second night of a back-to-back.
Obviously, if the clinic is any indicator, Malik Beasley is going to score 40.
Yeah. That was the best game of the year for Kelly.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
That's something to prove, I guess. All right, what's next?
Number 2, the Utah Hockey Club lost Saturday night to the Devils, but they didn't lose much ground as far as the playoff picture.
Yeah, everyone around them lost also, which is good. So they remain 2 points back of Vancouver, 1 point back of St. Louis, and 2 points back overall of Calgary. So everyone in front of them, other than the Avalanche, who are pulling away and are far enough away, I don't think they're in the conversation of Utah catching them for the wild card race, also lost. So
ESPN has them with a 25% chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah, there's 4 teams fighting for one spot. And I think you just got to say, like, yeah, they're all right there. You know, Calgary, Vancouver, St. Louis, Utah Hockey Club.
They need a hot goaltender.
They do. They didn't have it against New Jersey. And I don't think that was all on Veg, but
he's kind of established himself as the guy, though, right?
He is the guy, and you can tell late in the season where there might have been a night where you would have rested Vejmelka and gone with Ingram. They're not doing that. They're not. Ingram will play whenever their next back-to-back is. Ingram will play one half of those back-to-backs, but they're going to Vejmelka every chance. The nice thing is, they've got a 4-day break. They don't play again until Thursday.
That Devils game was after a break, too.
Yeah. So they play Saturday. They played Saturday. They don't play again until Thursday. Ideally, that's a bunch of rest to come back and make a real push for it.
Ben, this is hockey, not soft basketball. That crap doesn't matter.
But guys get dinged up and banged up, and I'm sure they will be happy to...
That matters to humans, not hockey players.
I'm sure Vejmelka will be happy to have a couple days off.
Speaking of tough guys, we'll have to talk to him about it on Wednesday.
Yes.
Our guy Nick might have taken a puck on the sideline.
Olchek did?
He did
Yeah,
take a puck.
He did, okay.
To the left cheek, not facial.
Yeah, he's not soft. He's a
I
tough
bet
guy.
he's got a hell of a bruise.
I doubt he even noticed.
He
Cold
noticed.
spoons.
They were talking about it. Yeah, he needs a huge cold spoon on that bruise. Yeah, he was hurting. You could tell he was hurting, and he powered through it. But he was, for the first time, and this is not a knock on him at all. He's excellent. He was at a loss for words. Nick is great at talking, and I mean that in a very good way. He needed a minute to talk. He was hurting. Why is he not protected? That little shelf that he sits in. If you don't know, if you haven't watched the broadcast, Nick, who joins our show every Wednesday, sits in between the 2 benches. It's a half wall.
Uh-huh.
There's no glass there. It's like, he's not subbing in. You could have the glass all the way in. I get that the hockey players are jumping over the boards to get out there and move quickly on their substitutions. Nick's not going anywhere. Give him the full glass. Why is he taking pucks?
He doesn't need the
At
full
85
glass,
miles
Ben.
an hour.
He doesn't need your soft defense. Just because if it were you, you'd be out there in full
I don't want him
pads.
to lose an eyeball.
That's part of the game. That's the risk.
Nick, as a sideline reporter and hockey analyst, does not need to be at risk of losing an eye or something else.
Listen,
By being
I'm not going to stand here for
on the
your
ice.
Nick Olchek slander. I'm not. He's nice enough to join us on Wednesdays. Why do you have to insult him on Mondays? He
I'm
could
gonna
be
ask
listening.
him. I'm going to ask him. I'm going to ask him why he doesn't have a protective shield in front of him, because it's stupid.
Because he doesn't need it.
He does need it. He got hit by a puck.
And he's fine.
Well, I don't know if he's fine. What if he's not?
It's like he probably could have taken that off the forehead and he would have been fine.
There is a very funny video of a guy who took a one off the forehead in the last week and has some language.
The Buffalo Sabres
On the broadcast.
color broadcaster, yeah.
Took one right off the forehead. Big bald guy. Took one right off the head.
Didn't leave mark.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure he got a big old goose egg, to the point where the trainers on Buffalo were immediately ran to the glass to be like, oh yeah, this person might be dead.
You played baseball at some point, right? Growing up?
T-ball.
Okay, this might not apply to you. I can't remember, Christian. You
I
played
did. I
baseball?
got hit in the face with the ball once, and then I stopped the year after. Yeah.
Did you ever get hit so hard, and the face certainly would count, that you saw the stitches on your, it left the mark where the stitches were on wherever you got hit?
No, I had a big black eye, though.
Oh, I bet you did. But yeah, I got hit a couple of times where you could see the stitches, and it's like, oh, that hurt.
Yeah, it's dangerous. No reason to be that dangerous.
Basketball players miss weeks with that type of contact.
It's all contact.
We'd never see Kawhi Leonard again. He'd retire.
There's no pads. They're not playing in pads.
We're talking about Nick Olchek here, man.
Yeah,
He's
Nick's
fine.
not got pads on
He's
either.
fine.
But maybe he should. He should wear a goalie mask next time.
All right, what's next?
Number 3 on a college basketball, BYU and Utah pick up wins. Utah State, I think they might have forgot that they had a game or something. They no-showed against Colorado State.
Pounded by Colorado State. I flipped over to that Utah State game thinking, all right, let's see what the Aggies can do.
Back-to-back huge losses.
Seal up that number 2 seed, and then they just got smoked.
They've lost their last 2 games by a combined 44, I think.
Yikes.
For a team that's been red hot, this is a bad time to go cold. And now it's going to come down to how they play in the tournament. Unfortunately, they're not playing well.
Anytime I get a chance to watch Bobby Hurley lose, I'm happy about that. The Utes pounded Arizona State.
They lost big. Arizona State. Craig Smith's kid got in the game, got a basket.
Awesome.
Kind of tough. But
Oh, and Mark Harlan tweeted about basketball?
Suddenly
He
had something to
tweeted,
say.
he said, nice win or something. And everybody was in the comments.
First,
Read the room.
First tweet about basketball all year. No head coach yet for the Utes.
And then the Cougs smoked West Virginia 77-50.
Close game through most of the first half, and then absolutely torched them in the second half. So,
Man, Cougars are having a good year.
they are. They're really cooking. Huge game tomorrow night against Iowa State on the road. That's going to be a real bellwether for what the future is going to look like. Because, the tournament's going to be harder, and I mean the Big 12 tournament, and then March Madness is going to be a lot harder. So I'm curious to see how they go on the road and play this game. But they're cooking. They're playing as well as anyone in the Big 12 right now.
Kansas took another L at home, by the way, over
Kansas
the weekend.
is bad.
I mean, Texas Tech is good, but, they used to be unbeatable at home.
Yeah.
And Houston is awesome.
Houston's awesome. Iowa State's very good. BYU's quickly making an argument to be very good. And, Texas Tech is, 10th?
Yep.
Yeah, so.
All right, stay tuned. We'll have more Jake and Ben coming up next. In fact, we'll talk a little bit about the Utah vacant head coaching position.
Okay.
Stay tuned. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Logan Cooley kind enough to join us last year. You guys were kind of on the cusp of the playoffs, and then the news started to break. Will you or won't you move? What's going on? And you could tell that may have been a bit of a distraction in the locker room. Having all of that settled and just focusing on hockey, going out there in front of a great fan base, knowing where you're settled in at, how much has that helped keep this team focused this year?
I think the main part, like you said, is just the fans, the support we've had all season. For me, I think every game has been sold out, if not, close to being sold out. So it's been awesome this year. I've loved living here, loved everything about it. And to just be able to focus on hockey, focus on the team, and kind of what we need to do to just focus on winning and, trying to get into the playoffs. So it's been unbelievable. It's been an awesome year. And, obviously making the playoffs would just top it off.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.